Welcome to the Spirit-Centered Business Podcast, where we blend the spiritual with the practical for supernatural results. Now, here is your host, Bralynn Newby.
Hello there. Welcome back to Spirit-Centered Business. I'm here again for part 2 at the next Agers. We had a terrific conversation. If you missed it, make sure you go to spiritcenteredbusiness.com and click the podcast button to catch part 1. We had a really in-depth conversation. We had a lot of rabbit trails going, but some really juicy content, and we are going to continue the conversation. So, Karina, you're the one who wanted to go, so you're on the hot seat first, girl.
We are in such a season, I believe very strongly, where the spirit of truth, I've encountered the spirit of truth in 2016. Father introduced me to this being, and the spirit of truth is here to lead us all that choose. It's a choice to awaken into the next level of truth that Father has. First Corinthians talks extremely, very, very clear that the Holy Spirit is revealing new things to the spiritually matured ones, the ones who are ripe and ready in their understanding. And it's a divine plan that was previously hidden. And guess what? If you read all the way to verse 10, it says that these things that the Father has prepared and kept ready for the spiritually matured ones who are ready to be stretched are things that no eye has seen. Okay, we got to stop and really think about that. Not Enoch, not Moses, not Abraham, not nobody. No eye has seen, no ear has heard. It has never entered into the heart of man, anybody. These things that God is going to do and reveal to the ones that are recognizing the benefits that he has bestowed upon us. So the Spirit of truth is here to walk with us and reveal a mystery. Listen, it is for the glory of God to hide a mystery. And it is for the maturity of the kings to search it out. So once Spirit of truth reveals a mystery, you guys, it is no longer a mystery, it becomes truth. And what you do with it is your choice. And I want to say this, also attach it to what I'm saying. We have to understand God is not a dictator. Whatever thoughts you had of God when you read the scripture or whatever, he is not a dictator. He always gives us choices. And that scripture that says many are called, but few are chosen. I was preaching doing a conference with Ian in Nashville. And as I was preaching, that scripture came to my spirit. And you know how the Father does? He drops stuff to you like in a split second while you're doing whatever, preaching, driving, whatever. And immediately the Father said, Karina, I don't mean that I look and I say, your father was a preacher, so I'm going to choose you. Oh, you don't come from good stock. I'm not going to choose you. Do you know what that scripture means? This is what the Father said to me. Many are called, but few are chosen. Is because your choice chooses you.
Yeah.
Your choice. The Father has done everything, you guys. He has done everything. All these mysteries have been kept ready, hidden for ages, for generations, from humans and angels. But now they are being ready to be revealed, but the choice is ours. Are we going to grab onto fear? Because I'm telling you, fear and religion will stop you every single time. Or are you going to let go and realize the level of truth? Listen, the Spirit of truth is always here to take you from one level of understanding to the other. Never park. You go from one glory to the other. So that I'm here, I guess, to try to stretch the viewers. Let go. Or, what the Father, what Spirit of truth, or Spirit of revelation, what Holy Spirit brought to you yesterday is awesome. But it's just a stepping stone to get you to put your foot on that one and your other foot to the other one. Because it's a growing process, you guys. We got to be willing to stretch and grow. We have to. It's called maturity. So this is kind of what I feel in my heart, that we're all in a season to where we have to make a choice. Are we going to allow that pain of the stretching season to take us to the next level, or are we going to say, no, I want to be comfortable? And comfort is the destroyer of our growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I once did an article, Shackled by Comfort, because we don't even realize the bondage that a comfort puts us in. But I love that, Karina. That is so good that our choice chooses us, because it says that the Father doesn't want anyone to die. Jesus died for all. It's
all.
It's not a partial atonement, like he only died for a third of the people, just the elect.
Yeah.
It's not that. He died for all of us, right?
Yeah, and he gave us everything, literally everything, and then some. Everything that we think is everything, and then some. It's all available. The only thing that's stopping us is our choice. By engaging with fear, by engaging with religion, by engaging with comfort. Because listen, I promise I'll shut up. See, you're getting me started. Fear will always tell you your future with an impending doom. The moment you hear the voice speaking to you about your future with an impending doom attached to it, well, you better not dive in that, because, if you do, you're opening up a door for the demonic realm. That's an impending doom. We have to recognize, you guys, push that aside and choose to hold on in the heart of the Father and say, I'm going to go. Stretch me, Father. I'm willing, because I know this is not what you promised me. There's so much more.
That's so good. And you can choose. I choose that future without the impending doom.
Yes.
I choose the abundance over and above the Ephesians 3:21, beyond what I can think of or ask,
Yes.
That's what I choose. Anyone else? Jump on in.
I know we had a conversation over the last this past week, actually, in several of the classes that I've had. And we were talking about one of the living letters, Zadie. And many don't know that throughout the centuries that the living letter Zadie has actually changed its shape slightly. And in that place where the two yods that are at the top of the living letter Zadie, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it's hard for you to visualize. Just go to Google and type in TZADE, Zadie, or TSADE, and you'll be able to find the letter and you can see what I'm talking about. But you're going to have a difficult time finding the first part of what I'm talking about, but you can find it. It's in there. But the very top, there's two yods that make up the very top part of the living letter Zadie. And back in the early times, those two yods were actually facing in two totally separate directions. And so it really began to imply this place of there being an immaturity, because the one yod was the yod of the Father, if you will, and one yod was the yod of us, the spirit of who we are and his spirit inside of us. And we were seeing two different things because there was immaturity. We were seeing things a little bit differently. Now you'll notice that most of them have the two facing now in the same direction. The yod, if you will, the yod of one of the yods, I'm not going to tell you which one of the yods, and let you fill in the blank there. Okay. Let me let you fill in the blank. One of those yods have changed direction, and they've begun to see things from a whole. So it's implying this place of the growth of maturity. So, and then the Jewish aspect of this says that when the two yods are facing one another, and I love that because the aspect of what we were talking about during the last show was talking about that place of the face-to-face intimacy that we have with the Father. You see, to me, the key of walking through the myriad of all the junk of the earth and of determining fruits and all of that to me almost seems secondary to the place of that face-to-face that I have with the Father. And it's so easy to recognize. Well, then the next question is, then how do I handle that? Well, I can love the person that is wicked, but yet not be a part of the things that are going on. And if the Father asks me to step out of it, I'm going to step out of it. And if the Father asks me, like he has Karina, did it again, Karina, that to have a group that goes out specifically towards and confronting this, then so be it. But there's a place where Father is allowing us to be that full facet of who we are in him. And he's bringing us to that place of maturity. I love it because Zadie is the living letter that begins the Hebrew word or her Hebrew name, Zadok, Melech Zadok, Melchizedek. And so the king of righteousness, the king of peace. And it begins to open up the door of really showing us who we can be in the midst of all of this. So I love what you're saying here in this aspect, because we are maturing. I believe that we've come to a place where the sons are maturing to where we now are beginning to recognize. And one of the conversations that I'll end it up with this. One of the conversations that we had in that class was, well, then how do we fix the world? How do we do the things that we do? And how because when I look at the world, it seems like it's almost unfixable. When you see the widespreadedness, using big words here, the widespreadedness of wickedness. How do we change that? Well, there's a Hebrew concept called tikkun olam. And tikkun olam literally means the repair of the world. But the concept itself speaks differently than we think it would. It says this, that if you want to repair the world, you got to start here first. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That and because you started here, because you've repaired, because I know, and that's why when that last show, Luke, you started to say something. We were wrapping everything up. You said one key thing, and I was kind of hoping you'd go a little bit deeper into it, because I believed it was the key of wrapping all of this together. It had to do with identity. Knowing who we are, because there's a confidence, there's a trust of the Lord that we have, and there's a confidence that's built when we know who we really are. And suddenly those things that used to bother us don't bother us anymore. Now I'm getting stirred up. Karina's got me stirred up now too. Those things don't bother us anymore. Why? Because we know who we are. We know the power that the Father has given us, and yet we're still learning about it. And I have the ability to correct myself. So the way that I kind of see this is kind of like the old Superman. It's like I grab my chest and I begin to rip it open. And in that place, I'm tearing back the veil of my flesh to allow the light being of the Father who's resident inside of me, to be able to burst out of this place. Well, if I want to change the world, I got to let the light out. You know what I'm saying? I got to put on my Superman shirt and just rip it open and say, okay, here's the light of the Father. And now the Father will continue, because there's more than just the shirt. There are other places in my life that need to be exposed to the light of the Father. And in that place, I reflect the fullness of his light. You get where I'm going here? And so if we want to change the world, once the light shows up, darkness is gone, period. I mean, I don't know why we even thought in the past where darkness could overcome the light, because it can't. It's just not possible. Once the light shows up, it reveals. And once it's revealed, it's exposed. And once it's exposed, it can be dealt with. And so then it's us walking in that place of maturity and reflecting the pure light of the Father. Yes, we are conduits, the pure light of the Father being shed abroad through us. And I love this, because the Living Letter Vav and Zayin talk about this. And I promise I'll be quiet after this, but I don't get stirred up.
I'm surprised.
The Vav and the Zayin talk about this, because the Vav is the conduit of the pure light of the Father. And then with the Zayin is the crowned Vav. This is where the crown is placed on the head. And it's the 7th letter of the Hebrew Aleph Bet. But the light then comes up, and I love this, because this is the picture of what the Father showed me. The light comes back through us, through to our crown, and our crown is like an antenna into the earth, and it spreads about the light of the Father in the earth, kind of like a candle. The flame on top of the candle that's sitting there. That's what our crown is like, the flame on top of the candle. And so it shoots it farther out than what we could ever imagine in that place. So it's the light of the Father in us and through us that's going to bring about those changes. So thank you, because you did stir me up. Hope I didn't take too long.
Awesome. No, Martin joined us. Awesome.
Martin.
Awesome. So we've been talking about getting stretched, and that we are facets of God, and understanding the Father, and all kinds of stuff. But Luke, I think you wanted to jump in on what Daniel was saying. I saw you about bursting out of your skin too. I mean, we're all like
Yes, it is. It is much tougher for me to try to not speak than it is to speak. Almost.
We're all speakers, right? Give us a microphone.
That's what I was saying. It's more difficult for me to pick which avenue got opened up than it is to be like, well, I don't have anything to offer. So I think that is amazing, because Jesus said he was in all ways tempted and tried as a man. And it was
Mhm.
without that, he was not going to accomplish the fullness of what his destiny was. And so Paul then talks about being able to handle fullness of abundance and therefore also being fully without. And actually that translation there in Philippians 2 is actually a translation that says being humbled. So Paul said he understood walking where there's no need, no desire. And then he's also understood, I mean, he understood living in a prison, right? And so none of the other disciples or apostles, except for a handful, understood any of that until their death. But before that, they were walking these things that Paul had done that they weren't doing. And in those places, there is something that is to be revealed. Now we love, and the charismatic circles to talk a lot about Joseph, because we always look at the reality of Joseph going from the prison, all the way up to the second in control. And I'm down with all that. I can dig that. But I think what's also missed there is that that's the whole entire picture of a mankind in their existence, with ascension and then, descending. So we descend from this place and ascend from this place. And it's a constant thing. And we're talking about stretching today, but I think what we're all really seeing, I personally believe, is that I think we're seeing a whole new wineskin being brought about, because that's not a one-time thing. It wasn't a one-time thing where Jesus did it. That was the end of it. There's a constant new wineskin season. And I think that's going to go on even beyond what we call this three-dimensional realm. We're going to go into new wineskins and expand beyond and beyond. And the last little rabbit trail I want to touch on with that is what Daniel was just talking about is, yes, the transformation begins here, right? And I started in segment 1, about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is the word there that is metamorpho. It's only used when it talks about that and when Jesus was transfigured. So, and Daniel and I actually talked about this last weekend. This comes from the idea that we come into the earth knowing we're not supposed to stay this. A caterpillar always comes into the earth knowing it's meant to be a butterfly, but it's also meant to be a caterpillar, right? So so we're meant to come into this earth as 1 Corinthians 15 talks about. It says that the man of dust comes first, but then the spirit man comes. So there's this whole ascension that we take on because we chose to descend into this physical realm so that we can ascend again up through the dimensions, right? And that's not going to take place until we begin to awaken within that original identity that is inside of us. So we go back to everything coming from our own perception, the way the spirit reveals things to us. And he presented the question. Somebody said, well, how is the earth going to be restored or redeemed or fixed, right? Well, I think the restoration of all things that Jesus is speaking of in Matthew 19 is actually talking about you restoring everything about yourself. I don't think it's as much about us understanding how all of creation becomes restored or redeemed, even though we're going to do that. And that's a reality.
That's good.
But that may not be until we've ascended well beyond anything we're going to do in this dimensional realm. It may be a manifestation here, but then that to me goes back to what you said earlier, Bralynn, and this is where I'm going to kind of wrap it all together with all the different rabbit trails in the one pretty little box with a bow on it, is that there is a time frame that's coming. I don't believe it's going to be real soon, but I think it's sooner than we think, especially if you look at things like on a 7-day calendar. 1,000 years is like a day. Then I think we're coming faster than we think, but it's still a little ways off if we're talking about another 1,500 years. But anyway, is the reality of this frequency that's going to manifest out of every person, as you mentioned. There is going to be, and I got so excited when you said it earlier, because the Father took me into a vision of that. Actually, I think it was on a Revolution Is Here call one time, Katrina. I'm kidding. I mean, because she moves like a hurricane. Right? Comes in, anyway, but it's the Lord showed me that there was a time frame coming where there won't be a casting out of demons ever again. Because it will come to a point where there's actually such a frequency of the Godhead, the God frequency will divinely manifest in this dimensional realm, which is the whole reason we're here, I think, like I mentioned earlier, is to change the frequency of this realm, which is why you got people that are talking about encounters. I've had encounters as well. I won't get long-winded on that, where you go to different dimensional realms. And you're supposed to shine your light there.
Yeah.
It's not just about shining the light here. So Daniel's on it, but it's also that we're doing it in all these different places.
That's right.
And we're doing it in multiple different realms at the same time when we become consciously aware of it, that if you're doing it right here, then you're doing it in all the other multiverses at the same time. And so that light is actually becoming revealed everywhere. So the long and the short of it is that there's going to be a time frame on this earth where there'll be such a divine frequency, the manifestation of the love of the Father, that wickedness won't be able to exist. It'll be like taking a shark out of water and setting it in an asphalt parking lot and go ahead and exist right here. It's not going to happen. Man, now I got the excitement all over me, my friends. Now I got that preach on me, Daniel. I got that preach on me. I got hairs on my legs standing up, back in the neck standing up. I got the inside shaking. But that's what's going to take place, is that resonant frequency of the Father's love that's going to start to come forth out of us, that is going to completely eliminate. You know, it says high tide raises all boats.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. And as that tide of the Father's love is a frequency that begins to manifest, then those boats that don't belong are going to start to begin to fall off. Yeah. We're going to turn over. What's that mean? That means nobody's going to be able to drive them anymore. So those boats of wickedness are going to turn into the Father's love. Oh, come on.
That's good.
All those things begin to bow one way or the other. It's either going to be a willful submission or an unwilling consumption by the Father's love.
Yeah.
Come on. It's good. That's good.
You just said something that I think went by really fast. I want people to catch it. When we are shining our light in this dimension, because of who we are, it's shining in the other dimension. So it's not something extra you need to do. You just need to see you really, really well. Okay. Martin, welcome. You want to jump in on this?
Yeah, and I was just looking, I was like, I totally jacked up the time, and I was like Central Time. I missed the Eastern. Sorry I'm late. But so no, I just, man, I love listening to you guys. It's just amazing. And I think it's so amazing how all this is aligning. It's like the tipping point, and it's like, I think we will reach, I think, Luke, that's what you were really talking about. I feel like it's that each of us encounter the identity Christ has given to us, and each of us begin to really change our vibration into love, where we're changing from fear and judgment and how we do things and how we respond, to operating out of love. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't fully understand that, but I'm seeing glimpses of it in my own life. And I think as more and more people begin to resonate with the frequency of love, which is Christ, then eventually we hit a tipping point in society to where it just starts to cascade. And exactly what you're saying, it's like there's nothing else can survive in that environment, in that frequency, because love overcomes. And I think we're starting to see that, with some of the testimonies of the Satanists, and things that are encountering love. Nobody preached to him. The dude got hugged by a woman like he's never been hugged before. That's just pure love. And then he encounters Christ. I mean, it's like, what else can we ask for? And I think instead of the battle and the crushing everything, it's like, no, actually we're going to emit a frequency of love. And I think I love what you were saying, that it actually, that's broadcasting and emitting throughout all of the dimensions, because in fact, because of our nature, we exist in all the dimensions, even though we're not aware of it. And I don't even have to go there and experiencing it. It's happening, whether I'm aware of it or not. And, I think some of us are more aware and capable of operating in multi-dimensions. Others aren't. And I think exactly what you're saying is that it doesn't matter if you're aware of it or not. It's still the love of the Father. It's still our nature that's emanating throughout and resonating throughout all those dimensions. And it does transform the entirety of creation. And so I think for me, it kind of takes that burden off of, oh my gosh, I have to be dimensionally traveling and astral projecting or whatever that may be, right? It's like, I don't know how to do half of that stuff, but I don't have to. I just have to be loved first by Christ and experience his love, and then allow that to just overflow from me onto everyone else around me. And really, then it just pours into everything that's there. And I think that's the beauty of the cross. That's the beauty of Christ, is that he's done it all. And I just lay in the river. It's not even a lazy river. It's a rapid river. but I just got to float down the river and enjoy it and allow him to just spread everywhere that he goes, through me, through everyone on this call and everyone that encounters it. So that's kind of been my encounters and what's been going on really for the last year and a half. It's funny, I've pulled out of a lot of activities that I have been doing for 10, 15 years. And, I had an encounter with the Father where he just basically said, hey, I'm going to teach you directly for a season. And I told him I didn't want to. I was too tired. And I've never in my life done that. And it's like in the encounter, I was so disappointed in myself. I literally was like, no, I'm too tired. I'm sorry. And he just grinned. It was like that was the answer he was waiting for. I mean, it was like he was waiting for me to say, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I can't go any further. And the funniest thing is, like, we're at this table in the garden for me. And it's like, that was where we do business, right? At this wooden table. And he literally jumps up all excited because I've told him no, right? And I'm thinking I'm going to get whipped in the woodshed or something. And he says, come on, come with me. And he takes me to this pool of water it's like glowing, like it's alive. And he is like just giddy. And he's like, jump in. And I jump in this pool. And it's like, it's instantly, the water I'm breathing it. It's refreshing me. I'm encountering just peace. And as I come to the surface, he's just like so excited. He's like, hey, do you know where that comes from? And like all of a sudden I go bird's eye, remote view, and I can see the throne of God, and it's the water of life coming out of the throne. Mm-hmm. And he just looks at me, he says, stay here as long as you need. He says, stay here as long as you need. And it was like there was no pressure, there's nothing else to do. And he just like, rest and be refreshed. And that started my journey of what I didn't realize was going to be almost a year and a half of almost, pulling back out of everything. We haven't met as penguins, and that I've never done that. I mean, it's been 10 years. And yet then like the next week, he started teaching me directly about things I had no knowledge about. And still, I don't know how to even communicate some of this stuff and how to even teach it, let alone, but it's like quantum energy, it's arc energy, and things that, how intention works and how we can generate. Here, this is the coolest thing. All right, and I'll just share this because I think for me, it was profound. So he starts showing me this deal. One of the first lessons he gives me, he says, okay, so he says, hold your hands out like this, right? And so I'm like, okay. And I see this like bluish white arc of just like electricity jump from one hand to the other. And it lands and it bouncing back and forth like a slinky. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but what is this? And Jesus says, it's arc energy. I'm like, okay, arc energy, never heard that before. And he said, here's the deal, is that you can produce it, like because of our nature, that I can manufacture, I can produce it. He said, but it'll wear you out. And you will be exhausted if you do it on your own. You can do it, but it will exhaust you. And he said, however, if you partner with all of creation, which is Christ, right? I mean, so it's basically, if you partner with the universe, the environment, with the energy of Christ, it's unlimited. He said, it'll never wear you out. And then he's like, okay, now put your hands like this, like you're holding a basketball. And all of a sudden this sphere forms. And it's like, I've seen this before. Oh my gosh, I've seen this as I prayed for folks. And he said, now put your intent and your love into that sphere and then send it. And so for me, it's like, I'm going to send this to my family first, so I'm in this encounter, and I'm kind of almost astral projecting as well. I'm running around the house, right? And it's the middle of the night, and this is all in the spirit. And I've got this basketball, and I'm running around, and I'm just shoving it into each of my kids and in my wife, and I can watch the spirit refresh. And then the next morning, I was like, hey, how'd you guys sleep? Right? And they're like, I feel really good. And it wasn't like, man, I had this incredible dream. It was just like, I feel refreshed. And so it was a really interesting perspective And what I realized I'd been doing was I was manufacturing the arc energy on my own will and in my own power, which we can do. But I was worn out. And so Papa was showing me how to actually partner and share the load. And then it's unlimited. And man, it's been wonderful. And I'm still learning. I'm still understanding that. I'm still, back and forth between my own strength and his, but there's no shame in it, right? There's no shame even if I do it in my own strength, that's the capability that he's given us. But it's the learning of, I'll wear myself out eventually. I knew for a little while, but I'll wear myself out. And the best solution is the partnership with you guys and with all of creation together. And that's, I think, honestly, my biggest learning. And like I said, I'm a baby in that, but it's all in the love of Christ. And that's where the source of that energy comes from, is the more I operate from love, the more I'm able to partner knowingly or unknowingly with everything around me. And man, it's so much more fun and it's so much better, and I can love others that maybe aren't showing the same for me. And so that's kind of where, in a nutshell, where Father's had me. And I'm starting to step out into, how do we really usher others into, where they are in identity. And so it's really, I'm calling it identity coaching. So it's really coaching others through their identity, because it's a journey, as we've all known. It's fun for a little while until you start going the inner work and it's like, this sucks. I don't like this. But that's where the growth happens, because most of us are terrified to face ourselves. And then as we begin to understand identity, it's like, no, actually, all I'm going to find is identity. And I'm going to uncover the lies that have been covering me from my own identity in Christ. And then it's exciting. Then it's, let's go. Let's do the deeper work. Let's go after it, because I know what I'm going to find. And that's really been this last year, the whole time. And so recognizing how do we accelerate folks and how do we help them through the dark night of the soul? It's actually, you're in a wonderful spot. Don't stop. This is beautiful.
Yep.
You're in a great place. Let's go further. And I've needed that coaching. And I know all of us have needed that help in those moments and really in those seasons. And so it's like, how do we go forward with that? And so that's really what I'm going to be launching next month, is a whole coaching process and series and accelerators to help walk folks through that. And so I'm really excited about it. It's been way too long coming, but I had a lot more to learn before I could really venture into that myself. So
that is really cool that you're launching. I just recently rewatched those when I was coaching you to build your identity program. Yeah. I just recently watched them to see what I could pull out of there and the gold nuggets that we had and stuff like that. So I'm so glad you're launching. But Michael, you've been awful quiet. What's up with you? What you thinking? What's going on with you?
My achy breaky heart is just getting a nice warm spirit shower bath from all y'all. Like Luke says, there's so many things. I'm just so happy to see Martin, and Martin has been such a tremendous support to our whole mission, and so have you, Bralynn, and Kingdom Talks, and everybody that has just prayed for us. Like, as you guys were speaking, it was just, I was mulling over just this last few years, and the weapon, a spiritual weapon that has not been used a whole lot, is the weapon of being weak in yourself, like utilizing that. Rick Joyner talked about the mantle of humility. Doesn't look very nice on the outside, but you got all these like warrior Christians that are just like so flashy and just, wow, their glory. But then there's a blindness when there does come an attack. And when you realize the weakness in yourself, then I think you just channel the entire arc energy of the universe, like Doctor Strange or something. I could just see I could just picture what he was saying. And I recommend, I wanted to say this too, like everybody needs to try that. Isaiah 57:19, I read this morning, it says, I create the fruit of the lips, peace, peace to him that is far off, and to him that is near, saith the Lord, and I will heal him. So go for it. Get that energy ball. focus on your family, then shoot it out to all
Come on.
these people that God puts in your heart, and then kind of peek in there sometimes. Be like, hey, are they still stuck in like the new age, or how are they doing? And maybe contact someone. I've been practicing because I live in the Smoky Mountains now. We went up to the Blue Ridge Parkway yesterday. It was brilliant. It was unbelievable. My dad took me. My dad is just great, and he bought me some new hiking shoes because as I was walking, my military boots fell apart. That's how crazy our physical life is. I'm doing like part-time FedEx and taking gigs in restaurants and different, contracting stuff with friends, and just God is putting me like in all these places. So my shoes are running out. So my father takes me down from the mountain, buys me some fancy hiking boots, and I was just like, oh my gosh, Dad, the father's love. And I saw this visual of, we don't even have to, it's like an automatic thing when we go into spiritual warfare. A lot of people like it. My friend, I would have put a shout out to Blazer's Spirit Wars on YouTube, because that guy just goes for Satan's fortress like a cowboy of the spirit. He just loves like slaughtering demons and stuff. I'm more like, Lord, please heal us, cleanse us, just dragging yourself back to the throne of God. And then you're like, you still love me? And then he just showers this, and you're like, why was I ever doing anything but this, And he showed me, because we do wrestle with things in high places. And we get to this waterfall yesterday. A bunch of people gave up before they could find it because it's been raining so much and the trail's bad. And we got to this beautiful waterfall. I've lived in Taiwan, Hawaii. When we first met, it was in Hawaii. And I'm just used to idols everywhere, I get to this waterfall and it's just pristine and perfect. But sure enough, right at the front of it, somebody had built a little stack of stones. And gosh darn it, there's nobody around. And just instantly inside of me, I just walked right up to it and I just kicked it down, and I just felt, what was that? Like, usually I'm used to idols everywhere. I opened the Bible to Isaiah 57, and it's literally about idols of smooth stones that people is the portion of idolaters. And, he'll just give you that sign. I'm not on some kind of idol smashing conquest, but we've been in some major fights recently, and just developing that, okay, I'm going to channel God's spirit instead of being the one true mystical Christian. I'm like the biggest mess that I know, and like the doorknob is pretty low. So I talk to people like, hey, if he can use me, he can use anybody. Like, really. And I'm honored to be here, but I could go on forever. I'm going to be doing a lot of interviews and podcasts, and hopefully with y'all coming up. So that's kind of our vision, is to, we're going on a Mega Man and a bunch of different, helping with satanic ritual abuse survivors, people that worked with Russ Dizdar before he passed on. I mean, there's a lot of torches that have been passed recently, guys. So I'm thrilled to hear Martin coming into this battle zone, and, it's the man in the arena. So I just appreciate, and I'm just soaking in this. I know that the people listening to are really getting blessed by this. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. Well, I guess it's to the point where we should just continue around the horn and what you're doing lately, since Martin and Michael shared. So Karina, what's going on? What's on your plate, girlfriend?
So we have our YouTube channel called The Quest for Truth, and it's literally just that. Different people that I invite. That does not mean I agree with everything they say, but again, we gotta learn to unite in areas that we can, so that they can shine their light with my light and bring that facet of the Father. And again, they may not call him God Most High. It's just getting people to be stretched and to seek God for themselves. Stop listening to what man tells you. Go inside the Father's heart, at the very center of the most sacred place, which is the Father's heart, and listen to what Father shows you. So we're doing that. Also have a patrons channel. We have a school called, so get ready. It's called Abracadabra Berit Shafet. Abracadabra is not a demonic word. No. It's Aramaic or Hebrew. You're right? It's Aramaic and or Hebrew, and it literally means I will create as I speak. Berit Shafet, again, it's Hebrew, and it's called From the House of Hidden Books. So the school's name is I Will Create as I Speak from the House of Hidden Books, which is the heart of the Father. Okay. So we have that. We have a Patreon, and I'm working on my 4th book. So, and it's called Into Hidden Dimensions and Beyond, Imitation for the Chosen. So, and besides that, a mommy, a wife, our older son is getting married. So getting ready for that. So a lot of stuff, all
Awesome.
amazing things.
So I have a joke for you. What do
Yes.
you call a dog that does magic? Labracadabra doodle.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, all right. On that note,
We need to
I want to
remember
see your
that.
dad joke license right now.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Wah, wah, wah.
It's a time for dad jokes. Apparently,
So
we
cute.
rated this low. We used to be arcing in a high frequency, but All right, Daniel, what's going on with you these days?
Well, we've been having a lot of stuff going on. We've got 2 schools that we currently have running, and actually they're 2 years. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. We've got the School of the Living Letters, which has a year 1 where it's an introduction into the living letters themselves, and then we have what's called yeshiva. And yeshiva is a Hebrew word that basically means continuing education or higher education, and it's the deep class. And so the class that we're currently going over through the 72 names of God on. And it's, Father, it's been really, really enlightening, really a beautiful expression, because we're not taking and doing a bunch of them all at once. We're taking one of the 72 names per every night that we meet. So it's going to be spread out over a while. We're going to be doing this for a while. We've also got a class that I teach on YouTube. So we've got a YouTube channel that's underneath my name, Daniel Jedediah Cook. And it's the Psalms through the eyes of the living letters. And it's really cool because we're right in the middle of Psalm 119 right now. And Psalm 119 is a psalm in the middle of it. It is the biggest book in the Bible. And it takes each one of the Hebrew living letters, and there's 8 verses that begin with each particular living letter. And so we're right in the middle of that right now. That's a live class and on our YouTube channel. We've got some other things that are coming up very, very soon that I can't announce quite yet, but some really exciting things that are going to be happening very soon. And I too, I'm not in my 4th book, Karina. Did that on purpose that time.
We will get this right.
I did it on purpose that time. No, I'm on my 2nd book, and it's called Mystic Science. And so looking forward to the aspect of that, because it takes the scripture and it takes the things that we've learned and looks at it from a scientific perspective as well. And it's really cool because it opens up a beautiful aspect of that, of the Father.
Awesome.
Okay, Luke.
Okay, yeah. So I have a school of immortality. We've had 11 speakers so far. It was supposed to be a 5-week course that turned into, now we're on our 6th month. It just continued to evolve and expand. And so I've had some phenomenal speakers in there. We're going to continue to have phenomenal speakers in there, including one that's in this session. I won't say who right at the moment, but they know who they are. And that's going to be coming up soon. And people can connect with me on my Facebook to get to be a part of that. I have my book out, The Immortal You. That is the kind of how the class began, was because of the book. It's all about immortality, youth renewal, anti-aging, all the things that are scriptural as well as continuing to happen now. I mean, if you just look around our modern world, people know it's real because, everyone's seeking it left and right with everything they do, beauty products and creams and all this stuff. But really all they need is Christ and his resurrection power. And I have my Patreon that I mentioned earlier. It's in my link, my bio on Facebook as well. We just began a new course actually 2 weeks ago. We began it. It's about our origin, our Genesis. We're going to go through a deep dive of Adam and Eve and Genesis and where we really began and all of that. And the existence that was there even before Adam and Eve, because, that was not the origin of mankind or creation. And so anyway, we did deep diving into all of that. And I have a show coming up very soon that you can register for that has just been recently announced with Karen Britt. Fringe, Is It Lunatic? We're going to talk about a lot, and actually it's going to be in October, so it's going to be perfect timing because it's going to be right around Halloween, and for a lot of people that gets kind of weird, you know, for what they how they perceive it. And we're going to talk about Bigfoot and aliens, and we're going to talk about shapeshifters, and are they in the Bible? Are they real? Does it exist? I was going to say Basham's probably all over that, but yeah, it's good. We're going to get into some really deep, you know, things that most of the church world will not touch. So yeah, look forward to that.
Awesome. And to catch everybody up on what I'm doing, since I very rarely announce it, but I don't get to talk to you guys very often. So I have an ecclesia group for business owners. We go up into the business complex and we get strategies and whatever heaven wants to tell us about either our own business or business in general. We just kind of let Holy Spirit lead on that. And then I also do coaching sessions. We do spiritual activations where we go get the destiny scroll for the business. We go get strategies and such one-on-one in coaching. And then I also have the business coaching. And then I have a new kind of session, which I call fusion, which is spiritual coaching and business coaching. And I literally have a seer with me. She's a very experienced seer. And we take whatever the challenge is in business, we go up into heaven and see how do we need to do this right now? Or what is the next step and the next step? And it's a longer term, 6 to 12 months of coaching together that we build business literally from heaven. So that's been really exciting. We have some amazing testimonies coming out of all over the world of the people who've been involved in those different coaching sessions. I help people break off all of the limitations that they have. We talked about mindset earlier in part 1, and we talked about, those things that hold us back, those lies that we have structures on the inside built on, and we remove those and put in new structures. And that's I use a lie busting tool. And then we also do that in the quantum capacity challenge that I run every so often. You can find that on spiritcenteredbusiness.com. And then I also have Planning to Profit Plus. Planning to Profit is my signature program that I walk people through, pulling the message of their heart out. And Martin, this is what you went through with me, right? Yeah. To create your online course, create your memberships, create the platform, the signature process that you're going to have. And then the plus is going up and doing those activations and getting what heaven says about it, so that we're doing God ideas and not just good ideas in our business. And let's see, I have recently started another show. We've got about 15 episodes or so in the can called The Nth Degree with Newby and Nieper. We talk about things that people don't talk about. That's always, and we take intimacy with the Father and engaging heaven to the nth degree. And we typically just go with whatever Holy Spirit has been showing us. Both Donna and I really process a lot, usually a few hours every morning. And so by the time we meet, we're full up and we share it with the peeps. So we have that. And I love what you were talking about, Luke, with the immortality, because I'm starting my new show is Heavenly Vitality. And it's all about wellness and longevity, but it's really about transformation, because we don't need to die, right? I've been studying a lot of, doing breath work and studying a lot of science behind what the Bible actually says. So Daniel, you rang all my bells on that one too. And I've got some great people on board to come with that show. And I probably will develop more products around that, because I've really been practicing it myself, because I want to be the living example and the testimony of what we can do of transforming our body with our mind and staying spirit centered and bringing that into our body. And we talked about a little bit in the first episode of the Next Agers here. So I think that wraps everything up. Oh, I'm actually doing book 2 and 3 at the same time, because the book 2 is Your Business Has a Destiny. It's all of the training and the declarations to manifest God's plan. And then the book 3 is, I don't have a working title yet, but it's all about kingdom and how a kingdom really functions and how your business is a kingdom and how we need to treat it like that. So in order for us to, start, the very foundational documents that we need is that declaration of trade, which Samuel had Saul decide what his kingdom was going to look like and wrote it up in a book and presented it before the Lord. And so if we haven't done that in our business, then I would say we're on a shaky foundation as far as having protection and resources from heaven. So that declaration of trade is a huge thing. But then the Lord showed me, oh, there's so much more. Okay, so I better write a book about it. So that's what that book is. So we're kind of doing both of those at the same time. Okay, does anyone else have any other thoughts before we close and land this plane here? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
There is so much a need for what everyone just said on this. I'm just enthralled. And if there was a way to somehow, I don't know, if there was like an auto RSS updated feed of a website where I could go to like keep track of this, because I know that we are a small amount of many that are really fighters for the kingdom. And like water doesn't just stay H2O. It's actually like the bonds separate and reform. That's why it cleanses everything, right? And when we are coming together through Jesus, forget meeting together, church meetings, when we are unified with Jesus and then we look to the right and the left, we see each other, and we might lose sometimes. But if there was a way to somehow, man, like I'm not going to be able to keep up with all this, but I would love to just, instead of looking at the dang news every day, like I would like to know what God is doing every day, So that's my vision, and we'll be working on that.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Good
Now
idea.
is a good route to go. See what God is doing, right?
Yeah.
Novel idea. All right. Well, this has been so good. We shouldn't wait so long. I think it's been months since we met. We shouldn't wait so long next time. I think we need to do this more often, and hopefully some of the other next agers will be able to join us next time.
Do you know I met Cara Real in San Diego, bumped into her after we did a Next Agers? I actually bumped into one of the Next Agers by accident at a Nancy Cohen conference, which I did not attend on purpose. I was at a different conference next to it for fringe Christian stuff. It was the weirdest thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, well, I'm going out and about. Of course, when this airs, it will have already happened. But yeah, we do events and we do some speaking stuff. So hopefully we'll run into the audience or any of you guys along the way. I'm looking forward to actually, sharing a meal together and sharing our in-person energy. And that would be really cool if we could meet in person. But Michael, you're like 4 hours from me right now in North Carolina. See out the window right there? You're like 4 hours that way.
Wait, I see you. No.
I know, right? Let me send my frequency that way. There, did you get it? It's instant.
Where at in North Carolina are you? Asheville?
Yeah, just outside of Asheville.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in Southern Pines.
We have to connect. I may be coming up to Greenville soon, and that's only an hour south of there.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah, that's not that far from me.
Be able to see face to face.
We have a church base, like if anybody wants to do like a local meetup thing, we've got that set up. So, we're helping to run. I mean, you guys are helping to run that. This whole little, it's kind of bohemian, lots of like couch. You can't really see the couches, but we do like little worship and prayer for the nation and ascension, and it's been really cool.
That's good. Well, I'll reach out to you. I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, we will
when I'm coming.
So
awesome.
You guys, I did not memorize, nor did I write down fast enough everything that you said, what you're doing. So please, all you guys, send me an email so I can get it all into the show notes, so everyone can get all of your links and all of your information all in one place on spiritcenteredbusiness.com. And that way we'll share the love all around. Okay, sounds good?
Sounds good.
All right, you guys. All right, I'm going to sign off, even though, we could talk forever, but I think it's about that time. Until next time, stay spirit-centered. Peace out.
Bless you.
guys.
Been an honor. Thank you.
Guys, love you all.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Centered Business with Bralynn Newby. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. The next stage of doing business by being spirit-centered is coming together in collaboration, working with spiritual principles and knowing our destiny. Join our tribe at spiritcenteredbusiness.com, and we'll catch you on the next broadcast. Peace out.